just joined. Thank you so much for being here. I guess Antonietta, we can start now. It's 2:05. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to a webinar, Understanding Employer Expectations with Potentialpark. We are so excited to have you join us today as we will explore the ever-changing landscape of the job market and how to position yourself for success in your job research. The job market is constantly evolving, and it's essential for you to stay informed about the employer expectations and understand how to effectively communicate your skills and your qualifications. And for that, we are pleased to welcome Antonietta Fitch, who is Head of Customer Success at Potentialpark. Potentialpark is a research-backed knowledge company since 2002, and whose objective is to bridge the communication gap between you, the candidates, and the employers. So the objective of the webinar is for you to have a better understanding of the employer expectations and to feel more confident in your job search, and also to be equipped to navigate in the EFMD Global Fair by Hired that will start tomorrow on our platform. And last but not least, Potentialpark is a partner of Hired. So we've launched with them the Talent 2025 survey. So Antonietta will share with you throughout the presentation the QR code where you can participate in that survey. So feel free to do that, and feel free to, thanks for sharing your voice and sharing your insights. It's very valuable for us to understand what you expect as well and how you want to communicate with the employers in the future. So thank you again, Antonietta, and I will leave you the floor. Let's get started. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Perrine, and thank you to everyone that is here also joining this webinar. Maybe right before I click into the next slide, hello from Sweden. I want to know also in the chat where everyone is joining us from. I think that's always a really fun exercise, especially when we join from, remote sessions. Everyone comes from different places. So hello from sunny Stockholm today. So I look forward to seeing all of your replies in the chat. But exactly as Perrine said, it's, an ever-evolving change of, the employment world. So what do employers actually expect from you candidates? And how can you better understand and navigate this search? Well, we'll jump into that. And I also want to jump into explaining a little bit of what we do at Potentialpark. So this is what the next 30, 40 minutes are going to look like for us together here. First, we're going to jump into a little bit about Potentialpark. Then we're going to understand what is talent communication. How can you influence employers? What do employers expect from you as candidates? And do you really know where you're going? So then we're going to go over some tips to navigate your information search. And then I'm going to walk you through a couple of best practices. So keep this in mind while we're going for the next half an hour. And if you have any questions, you can also just write them in the chat at any moment. And we're going to have a couple of minutes probably at the end for a Q&A. So definitely share your questions in there already. But at Potentialpark, we believe in a future of work where everyone has the opportunity to find the place where they belong and they can develop their full potential. So how do we do this? Well, there's the QR code that Perrine mentioned. So you're going to see it throughout the presentation. And you can scan it on your phones already and take it later. Or you can, if you're a good multitasker and you want to listen and then answer at the same time, definitely go for that. But we've been thought leaders in the industry since we were founded in 2002, and we work to establish and improve talent communication, which is the way that employers communicate with you as potential candidates for them. So we do this because we provide different insights and measurements of how employers are actually communicating right now with other talent that is out there looking for potential career development and career paths. And what we do because of you and thanks to you, our partners Hired, and then also the candidates like you, is that every year we conduct one study where we look into the different things that young professionals and candidates are looking for from employers. So what are the different things that you're looking for in your job search and your career search development? But here I have an example. Actually, it's not even a week old. It's an example of, again, one of these employers Nokia, as you can see down there at the corner, talking about how, with Potentialpark, they've gotten to understand candidates better. And the quote there might seem like a very obvious thing to a lot of you in the audience, right? Of course, you want to engage with employees. If you're applying to a job and you want to know what it's like to work in that place. So you want to hear it from the people that work directly in there. But surprisingly, or, for a lot of employers, unfortunately, this is big news. And this is the big news that we're able to bring to employers together, thanks to you. These are some of the other employers, that engage with Potentialpark and that we communicate with, and that together you help us change the way they communicate with you. And, now that we've introduced this like talent communication survey and getting, your voice to employers, this is what it looks like a little bit. Like we said before, we are a research company, so we love data and we love insights. So the biggest part of what we do here is understanding what you, all of you, as candidates, want to see from employers. Then we evaluate employers to see who is actually doing these things and achieving and, communicating in the most effective and appropriate way that you're expecting them to reach you. And then we're able to put those together, so hence the little oval there, to actually see how can employers improve, which employers have to improve, and which ones are on their track to do exactly as we hope, and help find, you the best place to develop. There's again that QR code. Some of you might already be familiar with this research and this study, this little survey that we do, and you might have taken it before. And if you did, thank you, because you contributed to these 33,000 responses that we received around the globe. As you can see, it's candidates and talent from all over the world that engages with this research. And I mean, we're changing the world of, talent communication. So we need to make sure that we're really getting the whole world engaged in this. So again, if you want to be a part of this change, feel free to fill in the survey this year. But enough about Potentialpark now. So now I'm going to share with you some of the key findings and the really interesting things that over time we've observed, and especially some of the things that we know are true. So, employers have a lot of different expectations, right? So it's important for you to understand exactly what they're looking for. We can say that they want to attract the right candidates, for example, right? It makes no sense for employers to recruit a bunch of people and then see those people go, to then bring in a bunch of people and train all those people and then go. So if we can really reduce it to a couple of different things, employers are looking for a candidate that is the right fit for them, a candidate that is meant to work at that place, that can develop to its fullest potential with them in their company, a candidate that matches their values, that wants to grow, a candidate that wants to learn and develop in a way that follows the trajectory of that employer, and one that will stay with them for hopefully a couple of years, so they can grow on this journey together. But they expect you to understand what is going on at the companies, and they share a lot of information in very certain ways, like different ways, but also very, very clear ways to make sure that they're really communicating what it is that they're looking for you to understand as a candidate, is this the right place for me? So, employers will show you the way. They will share with you a lot of information and tell you this is the best place for you to work. But you need to really know if that is the path that you want to take. Do you know where you want to go? Is this really the right employer for you? Have you really explored all your other options? Where do you want to be in the future? So exactly, figure out what it is that you want to do and what path is really destined for you. What path should you take? And also something that we need to talk a little bit more about is employability. So how does this impact your employability? How is this going to help you develop into, a bigger talent? make sure that you're unlocking your future with this decision. It's a career choice at the end of the day. It's not only a job. And at the end of the day, again, think about your employability. And for those that don't know, your employability, I think we can reduce it or make it, it has a three-way foundation. It's your skills, it is your experience, and it is your network. All of those three pillars build your employability. And at the end of the day, it is your biggest, maybe not your only, but your biggest job security, your employability. So we want to make sure that you find the place where you belong, where you can develop this growth, develop to your potential, and find and develop that employability. So again, what do employers expect? Sorry. They want to make sure that they're communicating all the details and all of the information that you're looking for when you're answering the questions of where should I start my career? Or what is the next best career move for me? And to identify with everything that they provide to you, if you're the right match for, the position they're looking to fill. They do this in a multitude of ways. So I'm going to share 7 different points that they use to communicate these these things and these different information points that they use. So number 1 is they share information about salaries. This can be information about salary ranges, information about compensation, different models. And I think a lot of the times, if this information already from the beginning doesn't appeal to you, then, you should explore if it's really worth investing more of your time and that employer's time in continuing a conversation. If you know this isn't the right thing for you and you're looking for other things, then, maybe it's not worth it for you. Maybe you need to find other opportunities. A lot of the times, it is not only about salaries for a lot of people, but there might be differences. Then we also have something that has grown and rose in popularity a lot recently, which are microsites, or what we call the Potentialpark microsites, which are dedicated sections for graduates or for students inside of a company corporate career website. That's a word you will hear for, as we continue this time, the career website, that is, the company website where you can find all of their different career opportunities. So, in the microsite or the student graduate section, you can find a lot of relevant information. And these sections tend to be more condensed, so you don't find all of that overwhelming information that might be relevant for a lot of different positions. So definitely make sure to take a look at these sections. Then development. Have you thought about your career growth? Where do you want to go? What are the different options and opportunities that they offer? Make sure you look into those when you're exploring your search. And then when we're thinking about facts and information about the company, you should really look into your values. Do your values match the company values? Do they contribute to missions that you support? Will you enjoy working there? Is this, the right move for you? And if so, you should definitely continue. But it's questions that I believe, employers expect you to answer for yourselves when you're embarking on this journey of your application or employment process with them. Then a little bit about the information of what candidates they're looking for. So again, circling back to the right fit. Are you really the person that they're looking for? If you are, then perfect. You found the place where you're going to develop to your potential. But if you're not, then what are the other opportunities that are out there for you? Because even though all of you, I'm sure, are full of potential and talent, you don't have the same career paths, or you might have different opportunities that are best for each of you out there. Then this is a really surprising one, or a lot of people are surprised when we talk about number 6, the tips for interviews and tests, because there is so much information that is out there on these websites and even on some social media channels from these employers about how to ace, the interview process, tips for your interviews. Have you read their interview guides, for example? Did you know some of them have them? Are you ready and prepared to speak to their recruitment team and for them to meet you? Not only for them to introduce the company, but for them to get to know you personally. And then, do your skills align? Do your current skills and your future skills, the skills you want to learn, do those align with the growth that you can obtain at that company? If so, that sounds like you've found the right place. But now we're going to dive deeper into all of these different things. And I'm going to walk you through a couple of different examples of what these things look like in real life, I guess. So, oh, another one there. A lot of the times, you should definitely check the career frequently asked question, because they will circle back, but most of the times, they will even answer some of these 7 points in the section. When it comes to information about salaries, you will find a lot of information on the different career websites. So these employment sites that companies have. You will find all sorts of ranges, all sorts of details, and every employer does a different, they all do it differently. At the end of the day, they're trying to convey somewhat similar messages. And those are, what positions are open, what are the salary ranges or the breakdowns for the different positions and their growth. And, some do it better and some provide more generic information with more of an overview of all the details. So let's see if you can see my screen now. But for example, I'm going to show you, this is a French site where they have, these testimonials and a little bit of the information of what it's working there is like. Then here they have already that information about, salary range, or just really clear, this is the compensation for this job. These are all the breakdowns. And then all of the different breakdowns of how it can all change. You can also compare it, for example, in some companies to other roles. And you can even download the entire package, to see all of the insights. So that's just one example. But let's see. We have other examples. Oh, this one doesn't do a really good job of showing that. But there, you see already a checklist of the things they're looking for. Some of the perks and then the compensation. All in different ways, very creative ways, both. But different ways of portraying and showing, displaying all of this information with, you potential candidates. So make sure that you explore, the information that is out there that employers are expecting for you to find. Then, my automations didn't work. A little bit more about the microsites, so those student and graduate sections on the career websites. So, there's so much information. It can be very overwhelming to navigate an entire career website for an employer. These are big employers that are recruiting different positions all over the world sometimes for all sorts of level jobs, so entry level to very senior. And, the information that is relevant for a more senior role might not be the information that you as a young candidate are looking for. And it can be sometimes difficult to differentiate between what is right for me and what is meant for other people. So these graduate sections, these micro, like student sections, have actually grown in popularity. And now we've seen, thanks to our Potentialpark research, that over 90% of employers actually around the world have these sections dedicated to students and dedicated to graduates. They provide exactly what you might be looking for. All of the questions you might think to yourself when you're, navigating this and thinking about submitting your application, they will probably answer in these student sections. But if we take a look at a couple of them, let's see. There it is. So you can see students, graduates, and you can navigate the entire search and understand what it is that they offer. What are the programs that they're offering for graduates? What is the graduate program for? And then they have all the different backgrounds. So if you're someone in finance and you're interested in seeing what are your opportunities as a finance graduate, at Mars, you can go in and do that. Again, then the steps of what to do, what the process is going to look like. Really cool, really informative. And like I said, there's all of it is in there. Compensation, a lot of the points that we just talked about, they will answer it here. Pet care, interesting, you know, some new things that we didn't even talk about. Interview guides, interview tips, more tips. Even advice about how to ace the interview, more information about the company. There's a lot of information that, you know, employers are putting out there for you to explore and consume before your interviews, before you submit your application to them, to make sure that you understand who they really are. And, you know, for you to know if this is really the right place that you want to be a part of. Working with us, professional students, contractors. So if we go into the student section, what does it look like? Again, different offerings, podcast, and more resources. So like I said, some companies do a better job at displaying all of these opportunities than others, or I wouldn't say better, actually. They do different jobs because they are trying to convey different messages. And at the end of the day, they want to make sure that you understand who they really are. So I've just put here a couple of screenshots of these best practices because I wasn't sure that my links would work live, but I still wanted to make sure that everyone got to see these things. When we go into talking about development opportunities in the company, there's a great variety in the ways we see this happen. You know, they can provide information about personal development and growth, such as, you know, upskilling programs, certification support, trainings, mobility programs that are really popular, especially among the young generation, tuition assistance programs. And some of these are more localized. So these might not all be relevant all over the world, but they're benefits that are sometimes localized. So, you know, in places where the tuition assistant might be relevant, it might be more of a developmental benefit, for example, than in other places. Then all the different personalized trainings as well that can help you develop in your own way. So not only in the standard that the company has set up for everyone, but, you know, where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And actually, I'm going to show you these two examples because they do a really great way at displaying, you know, create your growth. So it's all about how you want to tailor your own growth at the company with like all of the different programs, mobility badging, certifications. And then if we go into Capgemini, they also have a pretty cool way of showing this. So what is the future that you want to create for yourself at this company? And then we will help you with it. Personalized learning journeys, like from onboardings and so on, to, you know, if you're really a challenger and you want to be ahead of the game, you can also do that with them. So if this resonates, you know, with you, then different approaches. So again, yeah, I'm not going to show any more of these, but there's a lot of ways that employers are sharing this information. So it's super important to make sure that you're listening or paying attention and understanding what are they trying to convey when they're showing this to me. Why did they choose to show this and share this with me? A lot of the times, it is because we know and they know that it's the information you're looking for. It's the questions you're asking yourselves. It's the questions you would ask an employer if you had them, you know, right in front of you. If you were sitting with them, you would want to know all these things. But it's because it's information that is relevant for you to make your own choice and your own decision in your future. The career FAQs, probably the first place where you should start in the career websites, or, you know, one of those places where you will see answers to, you know, the questions that everyone is having, which is why they're the frequently asked questions. But they're a great place to start because it's going to help you understand what are the other questions you didn't even think of. You know, what are the things that other candidates are asking that maybe you didn't think was that important to you. And now that you read the answer, you're like, whoa, okay, I can't believe I didn't think of this myself. So, you know, career FAQs are a great section full of information, full of links that are going to take you to all around the career website, probably to the student, you know, the student sections to find all the information you might be looking for. So they're a great section to know an employer. And you will find, you know, information about the application process, the selection process, what working at the company is like. So much content in there. Let's take another quick look. As you can see, they have 3 different categories. Like something you need to know if you're applying, information about the selection process, and information about starting to work at the company. And if you scroll down, you will see a lot of different questions. Then they go more into company information questions. So about AstraZeneca, data privacy, which might be some of the questions they're having. You know, do you accept CV resumes from agencies? Very, 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 you know, questions that are all over. Do I need a work permit? What does the selection process look like? How do I check my application? Do I have an opportunity to travel? Like all of these things that they might answer directly in there, but might also link out to other resources where, yeah, other resources that they have prepared for you. And let's see, just one more for the sake of comparing. I think it's always good to compare because if we just look at one, we wouldn't know what to expect. Again, application and interview process, talent communities, working there, university students and new graduates. What are the frequently asked questions here? So even though they have somewhat similar information, they present this information to you in different ways. So we have those examples of the career FAQs. Then if we go into the information about the profiles, you know, what are they looking for from a candidate? What are the needs that they need to be met? What are the requirements? What are the ways in which they will understand who is the profile they're after and if you are this person for them. There's a lot of career matching quizzes that exist on certain career websites that do a really good job at maybe helping you break down, like, is this the place for me? Or what path should I take inside of this company for not only the development, but to start? What are the qualities? What are the backgrounds? What are the future goals that the person in this role should have? And for that, I want to show you this example of Michelle, who talks about their graduate program, but also the learning journey. And they have a quiz that you can take to understand where in their graduate program you fit and what would be the best, what would be the best opportunities for you based on your background and your profile. So that's a really interesting and cool way of, trying new things or doing the same thing in a different way. Also, KPMG being out there ahead of the curve, like they say, providing a lot of tips and advice, assessments, information about their application process. So you can really be prepared and see, okay, is this the right place for me? Yeah. So some more breakdowns of, the profiles. What are the, again, the things that they're looking for in the people that have these jobs? Critical thinker, career motivation, resilience. I mean, these might seem like a lot of things, these are the qualities that KPMG thinks a KPMG employee should have. And, if you can resonate and you can relate to these, then, it might be the place for you if it fits also with your values and the other things that we've just talked about. A degree matcher, the Shell degree matcher, to make sure that, maybe there are other opportunities for you out there that you haven't considered. there's so many opportunities that sometimes it can be a little bit daunting to see this is the path I want to take when, you know, you only know certain paths. So it's fun to explore what is out there and what employers are offering for candidates with your talents. Then when we go into the tips for interviews and tests, I promise we're almost done through these. You know, did you know actually that most of them have the information on their websites to help you ace the interview process? You can see entire breakdowns, you can see mock interviews, you can read guides to prepare, you can read, you know, what are the interviewing methods that they use, what will your interview look like? So you're ready already from day one when you show up to that room. You're not surprised, you're not thrown off, you're in control of the situation, you know what to expect, and you can, you know, shine and be the best version of yourself out there that day. They introduced the process, the method, the resources, and yeah, they will tell you exactly what happens before your interview, during your interview, and even after the interview process as well. Let's see. So here we have them already telling us to do our homework before the interview to prepare for it, understand their mission, understand the business, prepare, be aware of timing, prepare the day of the interview, you know, a couple of do's, a couple of don'ts, remember to be yourself, and then what happens after the interview. So, you know, employers are out there making sure that you're out there. They want to see you succeed. They expect to see you succeed in these processes, you know, in your applications process, in your interview process. They want to see candidates that, you know, make it over the process. They want to see you succeed. I think they're doing everything they're doing a lot to make sure that they give you the tools that you have to find the right place where you will succeed. Again, here we have, who was this? This is Air Liquide talking about the STAR method they use for interviewing. So discover the STAR method and be ready for, you know, don't be surprised when we start interviewing you when you need to reply in a certain way and know how to interact. First step for your careers, learn how to prepare for a job interview, the questions and the follow-ups, understand the requirements, a lot of interesting things. But then when we're coming down to the end of our, you know, our 7 items to skills-based hiring, this is a topic that has gained a lot of momentum and a lot of discourse in the past couple of years, in particular the last 1 to 2 years, I would say, especially with the rise of AI. I know that can be scary and that can sound a little bit daunting, but we've seen that the majority of candidates are, when they're looking for jobs or looking for a career path or looking, you know, to send an application, they're looking down the job description, almost like in a checkbox way. So, you know, do I fulfill all of the criteria here? Am I this? Am I this? Am I this? Yes, 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 no. Instead of really looking at titles, you know, head of this or research, well, maybe, you know, instead of focusing and marrying the job titles, look at the skills that are needed to perform that job, because most of your skills are transferable. And, you know, one thing is having a career journey, and that is totally respectable and you should follow it. But a lot of those skills are transferable. So the skills that you might have learned at university are skills that are going to help you in different roles that maybe you haven't thought about, and in roles that it might not be like the most obvious conclusion that like this skill is going to help you succeed in that job, but a lot of the times they do come, you know, with each other, and a lot of these skills you can actually learn. So, you know, don't be discouraged when you don't meet all of the skills, or because you can develop into them. Do you know, sorry, yes.
Oh, sorry, Antonietta. I think this part really resonates with Masara's question. Just ask, like, when you're changing your career path, how then to meet recruiter expectations when you're just changing your career. So
I think
it's a bit like transferable skills is one of the answer. It's one of the
exactly.
keys.
Exactly. There's a lot of things that you've learned and, in your previous career path and your career journey experience. You can't take that away, of course. And, all of that experience has built different skills. So how do those skills compare to the ones, you want to develop into? The skills that you need in your new career path that you're taking? Because I'm sure a lot of them are complementary. And a lot of them, even if they're, maybe not 100% transferable, you can learn and you can use as a foundation to learn these new skills. So, I think everyone should always have skills that they want to learn and develop. I'm sure you all do. We just don't think about it like that in a lot of times because our conversations aren't framed like that. So, what are the skills that are needed, for example, to be a great fit at a company or not, or to do the job and fulfill the job? And I have here a really cool example. I actually like the one in the back, for example. That's a German company. It's they basically, this is talking about their developers. So they're looking for they were hiring developers, and they gave a list of the tools and the resources, and they called it the toolkit that they need, for their backend developers and the database developers, anyone from the operations. What are the different skills that they need to have? And these are skills that they might have already and they meet, or skills that they're working to learn and develop. So it works not only as a tick box, but it's like, okay, yes, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, but I'm also learning this, this, and this, and I want to learn this one too. So I think a backend developer could be in my future because this is where I want to go. And I'm, taking a leap and getting ready to apply because that's where I see myself, in my future career going. So I think it's all about motivation and taking that risk, daring to apply, daring to transfer your skills and to learn new skills. Because at the end of the day, a job title or, title in a job ad isn't everything. There's so many skills that are relevant for multiple, for so many of these roles. So yeah, that was a great question, actually. But like I said, employers are providing and are ready to provide you with so much information. That's what they expect. They expect you to be informed. They expect you to make the right choice, the right decision for yourselves, your future career, to boost your employability and, take your career path to the next level. So, yes, so this is know what you're looking for. So, check all of these things that we've already talked about when you're navigating your career search. Make sure you're informed. You ask questions. Think questions. You should always ask questions. But you should, of course, be informed. You shouldn't ask questions that maybe they have already communicated you in different ways, but rather, what is your thought after you've received that answer or you've read the information that they're trying to give you? How does that relate to you? How can you make the most out of that? How is that going to come into play with your own journey? How are you going to use those opportunities to develop your own potential? So make sure to take control of your own future. Boost your employability. Figure out where you want to go. Decide what you want to do and what path you need to take. Again, take control of that employability that we talked about, because this is what's going to help you unlock your future. Be it in a career path that you've chosen today, or one where you decide to, switch in a couple of years, or, someday. This is what's going to help you unlock that future. Your employability, that is your skills, your experience, and your network, that's something that no one can take away from you. And it will give you and bring you your biggest job security, which is the opportunity to find that place where you belong. So I think that's what we have here today. Almost perfectly on time. I don't know if we have, any questions in the chat. So
Question, Antonetta, that was really insightful for everyone, and I guess everyone learned a lot of very good tips. And thank you for sharing as well the few examples of a company's website. It makes it very concrete and clear. Thank you so much for that. We don't have any more questions on the chat. Feel free to drop your question there, or just open up your camera and your mic and ask it yourself directly to Antonietta. If you have any questions, take the advantage that Antonietta is here to help you. And if you have any questions for the EFMD Global Fair by Hire tomorrow, just that is the right place. If you have any doubts or any concerns or questions, or don't hesitate to ask them here. This is a safe place for you to share your insights, concerns, or questions. Or if you had any experience that you'd like to share on different career websites that you visited, please feel free to do so as well.
Yeah, there's so much information on these career websites that it's definitely a fun place to start your search. So I don't know if, all of you guys that are joining tomorrow's sessions with the recruiters, make sure that you visit their career websites before, read their FAQs, frequently asked questions, and maybe get inspired by some of the things that they share in there. For sure. And maybe scan the QR code if you haven't to share your insights, share your experiences with us, so we can bring your voice to these employers to change how they communicate with you and what they're doing to attract candidates.
So hi, Antonia.
Hi.
And Perrine, thank you for the session. It's really insightful. But what you highlighted earlier, like what you shared with us earlier, I think it differs with religion or countries, because I work in like 3 different continents, and really I have not seen where they post the job on their website, on their career website, and also with the salary and all those things you shared now. Like most of them don't have it. And how do we go about it? And most of the times, like when you reach out to the recruiter or an company insider or anybody from the company, like to get more details, they end up ghosting you, Yeah. So how do we get this information from companies that did not share this data with us? Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. It's definitely a growing trend. I mean, we see that employers are slowly adapting. There are starting to be regulations set in place, that are, a lot of the employers right now are, let's call it, ahead of the curve because of different regulations that have come into play. So I know, for example, a couple of years ago, the state of New York introduced a law to display, salary ranges, and other states have adapted it slowly over time. And then we're also adopting in Europe a bit more like transparency when it comes to like salaries. So the world is slowly catching up with these things. And exactly like you said, I think there's still a couple of discrepancies where, different regions of the world are catching up with this. But I think it's always good to ask. Of course, it's good to ask. If they're ghosting you, then that's probably not the best employer for you. I would say you maybe dodged a bullet rather than, So always ask. And if they're really transparent and if they are interested, if they're a good employer, a good person to work, a good employer to work for, they should have no problem. Again, it differs, and it depends on how you ask these questions and at what stage of the process you're in. But if the more we talk about these things, the more it's going to become normalized, and employers are going to start adapting these things. But we should always ask for it. Interview tips, I see. I think that the interview tips that work the most are, I would say always read what they have on the websites, like the different employers, if they have something, because it depends who you're talking to, right? And if they already tell you this is what works in our company, this is how you're going to make a great impression, then you should definitely take advantage of that. And I would say that, you should take that advice over anything I say of my experience. But I think it can never hurt to be curious, you know, inform yourself about, you know, the different, inform yourself about the company and have questions about the role. You know, there's so many things you can ask them about what the role would look like, what working at the company would be like. And when they see that you have real and genuine interest in this position that you're probably interviewing for, it's going to help them get to know you. So I think be curious, ask questions, but also let them see you for who you are. Don't try to pretend to be someone else that you're not, just to make a good impression.
So much, yeah, it's great advice, and yeah, be informed also before the interview. That's the best tips, as well as Antonietta has been sharing. We have a question from Evans asking, if you're not from the country that you're applying to, if you're from a different culture, here Evans shares an example, if you're from outside Europe, how do you then find the expectations, I would say, of companies within the country that you're not familiar with? How can you do that? Do you have best practice on that?
Oh, I think that's a really interesting question. I would say it depends on what your resources are. I mean, again, try to navigate their profiles, try to get in touch with maybe an employee. So like Nokia was saying, of course, new candidates want to talk to employees about their experience. I would say don't be scared to reach out to employees and talk about their experience at the company. Also, your universities. I mean, it depends on the situation, but if you studied abroad and now you're going to enter the workplace in that culture, I'm sure that your university, your career center, or even networks like Hired have great resources to help you navigate all of those. What are the cultural do's and don'ts? What is expected? What is a given? So I think definitely rely on all of the resources that are out there, and be informed.
Thank you. We have another question from Sarah asking, what insights should we gain from an unsuccessful interview? Sorry.
Yeah.
Or experience. If you have an non-successful interview, how could you still gain from that? How can you learn from that? What kind of insights did you learn?
I think you can learn from any experience. So that's definitely a great question, Masara, because you can definitely reflect on your own, I would say, if you can ask them for feedback. A lot of employers are very happy to provide feedback. It might have been nothing that you did. It might have been that the timing wasn't right for you with them, that maybe someone was just exactly what they were looking for, not that you weren't, but it's always nice and good to ask them for feedback if they provide it, but also to have your own, I would say, reflection on what are things that maybe was I true to myself? Was this the right thing for me? Because a lot of the times I think we can want things so much that we get a little bit home blind if is this really the right opportunity and the right fit for you. So
yeah,
definitely.
and dare to ask feedback. I think it's a great feedback. Don't hesitate to, because they also owe you an explanation, not just an email, thank you for your time, but it's a no. Dare to ask your questions. They have to give you clear feedback, so don't hesitate to ask them also that. And we have a great question from Mario. I really like that one because yes, it's a lot of information on the different career websites, but when you have to, apply for 10, 20, 30 positions, you cannot maybe spend as much time as you wish you could on every company's career website, especially when the recruiters receives hundreds and thousands, maybe applications every day. So how can you, balance this time investment, do you think?
I think that's a tricky question. It's a great question, but it's always very tricky because
employers expect you to really look out to all the informations on their websites, but they also need to be aware that candidates have to, be multitasking because they're still studying, and at the same time they're applying to multiple positions. Of course, you don't only have one company in mind. So how can How can we balance that? I mean, there's not really a good answer, I would say, but if you have any tips or insights on that.
I think it always helps to, I mean, of course, you need to apply to multiple jobs, but it's like, I don't want to give the wrong advice, but I would say if you're really not, if you really want it, then go for it and apply to that position, and I would try to even recommend that you make the best impression of yourself there. Because I don't know if it should be worth your time investment, so if you really want it, definitely go for it, apply, and I'm sure it'll stand out. I think it's a lot of the times when we try to do things in like masses, it's where a lot of the really personal details that make you stand out could be lost. So I think there's value in quality of applications over quantity of applications, but I understand that that can be tricky in a very competitive landscape. So I think it's a very fine balance, for sure, and a very tricky question, Mario.
And now we have another question. From your research, Antonietta, do you know if in Europe the employers are expecting an early talent, a young talent, to start with an internship first or directly start with a job? Do you have any insights on that? Do you know if employers prefer an early talent to start with internships?
Oh, I think it really differs, and I don't think we're able to say one or the other, to be honest, because it depends on the industry. It really depends on the country. So I think there's so much out there, and there's so many different opportunities as well. So a lot of the times, yes, an internship is a great way in a company. So I think that if I can answer this question and turn it around a little bit, it's more of the fact that don't close yourself to an internship, because they're a great way to get into a company. But I wouldn't say that it's the only way. So, or the most popular way. But of course, and there are internships start year round. So it's not always at the timeline that maybe you are expecting. And when you need an internship, there's one starting. But a lot of the times employers have needs for these year round. So they do sometimes more than 2 rounds of, like the fall and the spring or the summer. They have multiple of these, and it can be a really good way to break into a company. Yeah, but that's a lot of great questions. Oh,
Sorry, I'm on mute. Can we take one last question, Antonietta? If
yes,
that's fine with you. Awesome.
that-
Thank you so much, everyone, for the great questions. We're going to take the last one from Navid, who is asking, does taking work experience between a bachelor and a master degree boost a job application or not? How do you see that? Do you have insight for them? Or do the employers are really expecting you to have a master degree? Are they looking for people with master degree particularly? Or do you have
I
some?
think, again, this is one of those questions where there's so many different paths, so many different industries where we would have to look at it more in a specific industry, specific career pathway, because I would say that every candidate definitely has something that can make them stand out. So it's not about ticking, these boxes in a sense of maybe it might be true that for the specific career path you want to take, you might need a master's degree or work experience in the field. So I think it's more on the specific and individual case rather than a more generalized situation. I think a lot of the times different experiences definitely build up, to your skills and your personality and your persona. So it's more about that transferable set of skills that can be either learned on the job or in university. So focusing on your skills.
Thank you so much, Antonietta, for your time and for this invaluable presentation. Thank you so much. We learned so much. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope that now you feel more secure and more confident in your job search. And we hope that you're equipped now for the EFMD Global Fair tomorrow and more generally for your job research. And thank you again, everyone, for joining, and thank you, Antonietta.
Thank you so much, and make sure to go and scan the QR code and share your insights so we can we can get more employers outside of Europe to share, you know, salary ranges and all of those things, thanks to you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone, and see you tomorrow. And thank you again, Antonietta.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.